However, our first speaker has the magic minute.
That's why I wore the pin today, to get that magic minute. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your leadership. You and Liz Cheney did such a remarkable job leading this, the committee, and now the leadership of our leadership, Hakeem Jeffries, Pete Aguilar, who's there, and others, Congresswoman Clark as well. Thank you for bringing us together today. On January 6th, 5 years ago, we began the day prayerfully. We had a Zoom call with our members because it was the time of COVID. And on that call, I said, this is the Feast of the Epiphany. This is an important Christian feast, and let us hope that that word epiphany, which means we also not only a feast of the Epiphany, but the idea of the Epiphany, that people will see the light in a different way. We were prepared that day under the leadership of Jamie Raskin. He had prepared us in advance to go to the floor very, very legally. It was about the facts, and it was about the law. And it was very nonpartisan. In fact, all of our testimony was based on Republican testimony throughout the states that would be in question. We prayed for the president. We said we weren't going to mention his name in our testimonies of facts and the law, the numbers and the races. And I continue to pray for the president because I could never have had the idea that a president of the United States would incite an insurrection on the capital of the United States, this symbol of democracy throughout the world, on the Constitution of the United States, which he took, and we all took, an oath to uphold, on the Congress of the United States, who that day had the congressional responsibility to accept the results, to certify the results of the election. The list goes on. And today, that president who incited that insurrection continues to lie about what happened that day. On my way over here, I saw on TV that he was claiming that we did not ask for the National Guard. I thank Representative Hensiger and as well as Elaine Loria for setting the record straight and other testimony that you've heard here. For over 3 hours, we begged him to send the National Guard. He never did it. He took joy in not doing it. It was savoring that. And right now, he was saying on TV today, I wanted to send it, they just wouldn't do it. His own Secretary of Defense, acting Secretary of Defense, testified under oath against what the president is saying today. Maybe not in public, but under oath. God forbid that they ever put this president under oath. His people know never to do that because who knows what will happen. But what he's saying today, still lying about it, is an insult to the American people. Good-thinking people in our country, and I believe in the goodness of the American people. Believing in their goodness is what gives us hope that we can move on from this even stronger. His lies that he continues to tell are an insult. The courage of our founders, the beautiful vision they had of this country. And they wrote the Constitution. Thank God they made it amendable so that we could expand freedom over time. But in that Constitution, they knew that we could have a rogue president. Hence, they put impeachment there. But they never suspected that at the same time we'd have a rogue United States Senate, wouldn't have the courage to testify to the truth. However, Senator Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate at that time, joined us in calling for the National Guard. Get it over here right away. He used a little slight profanity in what he said. And yet he refused to vote for the impeachment. But nonetheless, getting back to this actual date, because of Sergeant Aguilo Canal, Harry Dunn, Eugene Goodman, Michael Fanone, Daniel Hodgins, Caroline Edwards, because of the actions of these members of Congress and their courage, and I name just a few, but because of the National Guard, our members of Congress were protected. And some of them are here, and I see so many more who will testify. We all know the leadership that was provided by one of our colleagues who will testify, and he told them to take off their pins because these people were coming to get us. How many times did I hear they were going to put a bullet in my F-word head? That's what I heard on TV while we were seeing this on TV. But one thing I knew when we saw that on TV was, despite what anybody would say, that we would go to the floor that night and show the world that the Congress of the United States, that our democracy had survived the insurrection that the United States president had incited. And I want to especially thank the mother, Gladys, and son Kenny, in attendance of Officer Brian Sicknick. Officer Jeffy Smith, his widow Erin, is in attendance, and also Officer Howard Livingood's family, Officer Kyle DeFreytag, and Officer Gunnar Hashida. These families made the supreme sacrifice for our democracy. And that day, what particularly offended me was, we know that our founders, the Times have found us, right, Mr.? The Times found our founders to establish this country. The Times found Lincoln to save the Union. The Times found us to save our democracy as well. But when we were watching this on TV, we could see the Confederate flag being flown under Lincoln's dome, the dome that Lincoln built during the Civil War to show the world that America was resilient. Lincoln's dome, there's the Confederate flag, while they were defecating on the floor of the Capitol, insulting the people who managed the Capitol, the staff, and all the rest. But it was the courage of our national police and also the Metropolitan Police that saved our lives. It was the courage of our members to go back to the floor that night. I was so proud of them, because you never know in terms of whatever is happening in the White House. Still, it took courage to go back to that floor. Still, when we went back to the floor to continue the work of the Constitution, the Republican members decided to still challenge the results of the election. That it wasn't honest. I mean, the lies were so pervasive. They were so sad. They were so sick. It's almost if you drum up something from the past. Have you no decency? Do you not care about your oath of office? Is your loyalty to that man who incited an insurrection more than your oath of office? Is your political career more important than America to you? Why are you here? Why are you here? So again, I want to just say that with all of this, one of the proudest moments of my 8 years of speaker and 12 other years as leader, but the speaker part, was that we went to the floor and we honored our members, had the courage to go there after being under threat, being chased by these people, being under threat, to go to the floor to honor their oaths of office. Again, there's one thing, I mean, we're not going to forget, and this committee, the January 6th committee, thank you all for your service in that regard, because there is the record. Think what it would have been if we didn't even have that. The public would not even know the destruction of it. The president is always saying to me, well, you weren't ready. I wasn't ready for a president of the United States. Yeah, I wasn't ready for a president of the United States to incite an insurrection against the Congress of the United States, against the Constitution, against the Capitol of the United States. No, who would be ready for that? But we are ready to save our democracy. The Times have found us to do that. And again, much to his dismay, we went to the floor that night in the House and in the Senate. to honor our oath and to certify the results of the Electoral College. But the one thing that I'll never forgive them for is the trauma that they've created in the lives of our members and their families who are seeing this, and the staff. When we came back from the undisclosed location, where they wanted us to stay, they said, you stay there in a couple of days, you can do that. No, we're going now, and we're going to the Capitol, and we're not staying in any undisclosed location. And we're not doing that. Forget that. So when we went in and saw the staff are these young people who are idealistic, who come to Washington, Democrats and Republicans, come here to be part of what's happening and what will happen for the future. And to see the trauma in their eyes because of this inciter of an insurrection and these people who followed him. Again, one of them having a shirt, Auschwitz, 6 million were not enough, for example, of some of the people who were there. So, again, I thank you for the magic minute. Again, I have so much, there was so much going on there. But what was going on there is in a bipartisan way, we were asking the President of the United States again and again and again. When we had the Department of Defense on the phone, we said, pretend this was the Pentagon, and they were doing this at the Pentagon. What would you do? What would you do? But this president continues to lie about that fact. And that fact is important because it costs lives. It caused trauma. It sent the wrong message to the world about what democracy is. It was something that made Putin proud. See, democracy doesn't really work because of this President of the United States. An insult to the institution in which he serves, an insult to the founders of our country, an insult to the intelligence of the American people. I yield back.
Thank you very much. The gentlelady yields back her time. For the record, I'd like to say that there are between 2,300 and 2,600 National Guardsmen stationed in the District of Columbia right now, brought here by the President of the United States.